There is a moment in every complicated relationship when your chest feels tight, your thoughts race, and your heart refuses to rest. You call it passion because it feels powerful and consuming. Tell yourself that love is supposed to be overwhelming, dramatic, unforgettable. But what if that overwhelming feeling is not love at all? What if it is simply emotional turbulence mistaken for connection? Intensity has a way of disguising itself as depth. When someone enters your life and disrupts your emotional balance, it feels significant. The unpredictability keeps your mind alert, constantly analyzing, constantly hoping. Every small sign of affection feels amplified because it arrives after uncertainty. Uncertainty creates craving. Your nervous system does not easily distinguish between excitement and anxiety. Both accelerate your heartbeat. Both heighten your awareness. Both make moments feel intense and alive. So when someone makes you anxious and then relieves that anxiety with attention, your brain records it as powerful attachment. You begin to associate emotional instability with chemistry. Calmness feels unfamiliar, even boring. Peace feels suspicious because it does not spike your adrenaline. You miss the tension when it is gone. Think about how often people say they want excitement in a relationship. They rarely mean stability or emotional safety. They mean unpredictability, mystery, emotional swings. They mean intensity. But intensity is not proof of compatibility. It is often a signal of unresolved wounds interacting with someone else's unresolved wounds. Two nervous systems colliding, reacting, triggering, mistaking reaction for romance. When affection is inconsistent, your focus narrows. You start paying attention to every detail. Every message delay becomes meaningful. Every shift in tone feels significant. Become hyper-aware because you are trying to predict the next emotional wave. That hyper-awareness creates the illusion of depth. You feel deeply involved because your mind is constantly engaged. But being mentally consumed is not the same as being emotionally safe. Many people grow up in environments where love was unpredictable. Attention came with conditions. Tonal was inconsistent. So in adulthood, familiarity feels like truth. Chaos feels recognizable. You are not necessarily choosing turbulence consciously. You are gravitating toward what your system already understands, even if it exhausts you, even if it hurts. The illusion of intensity becomes stronger when reconciliation follows conflict. After arguments, emotional reunions feel euphoric. The relief creates a surge of closeness. You interpret that surge as proof that the bond is special. But relief is not the same as love. Relief is simply the nervous system calming down after stress. Over time, your identity can become tied to the emotional roller coaster. You see yourself as someone who loves deeply, passionately, intensely. Yet deep love does not require instability to exist. Healthy connection is often quiet. It grows slowly, does not demand that you prove your worth every day. When someone treats you with consistency, your nervous system does not spike. There is no dramatic high to chase. And because there is no dramatic high, it may initially feel less powerful. But power and health are not the same thing. True emotional intimacy is built on predictability and trust, not on confusion and emotional suspense. Ask yourself how often you have confused being consumed with being connected. How often you believe that if it feels intense, it must be meaningful. Intensity can mask incompatibility, can hide disrespect, can even disguise emotional unavailability. The more turbulence you endure, the more you may believe the relationship is worth fighting for. Because you have invested so much emotion into surviving it. But surviving love is not the goal. Feeling secure within it is. Breaking the illusion of intensity requires awareness. It requires noticing when your body is reacting to stress rather than responding to care. It means learning to appreciate calmness instead of mistrusting it. It means redefining passion as mutual growth rather than emotional chaos. When you begin to value steadiness, something shifts inside you. The craving for turbulence weakens. The need for dramatic reassurance fades. You start choosing conversations over conflicts, clarity over confusion, stability over suspense, and slowly the illusion dissolves. You realize that love does not have to shake your foundation to be real. Sometimes the deepest connection is the one that feels steady, not stormy. And when you finally experience that steadiness, you understand that intensity was never the measure of love. Peace was. Most people do not fall in love with a person. They fall in love with a feeling. It's a surge of emotion that disrupts their ordinary life, a sensation that makes everything brighter, louder, more dramatic. And when that sensation is intense, they assume it must be important. But the human brain is designed to respond strongly to uncertainty. When outcomes are unpredictable, attention increases, focus sharpens, emotional memory deepens. This is why roller coasters feel thrilling, and why emotional unpredictability can feel like passion. When someone alternates between closeness and distance, your system goes on alert. You begin monitoring every signal. Every pause becomes meaningful. Every return feels like victory. That cycle wires itself into your nervous system. Anticipation builds tension. Tension amplifies relief. Relief feels like love.
Ow!
Over time, you stop asking whether the relationship is healthy. You only ask whether the intensity is still there. Intensity becomes your measuring tool. If you are not overwhelmed, you assume something is missing. You are calm, you fear boredom. But calmness is not emptiness. It is emotional safety. Many people mistake emotional dysregulation for chemistry. When two unresolved histories meet, sparks fly. Not because they are perfectly matched, but because their triggers align. One fears abandonment, the other fears closeness. The other withdraws. This dance feels electric. It feels fated, feels impossible to ignore. Yet beneath the electricity is instability. Beneath the passion is anxiety. Your body cannot relax because it does not know what will happen next. And that constant alertness creates emotional intensity. The irony is that genuine compatibility often feels quieter. It unfolds slowly, does not require emotional survival. But when you are conditioned to equate love with turbulence, quiet stability can feel unfamiliar. You may even sabotage it without realizing why. Because your system is searching for stimulation, not serenity. Consider how often reconciliation after conflict feels intoxicating. The apology, the tears, emotional closeness afterward. The brain interprets that dramatic reunion as depth. But it is simply contrast, pain followed by relief. Without the pain, the relief would not feel so powerful. Over months or years, the cycle becomes identity. You believe you are someone who loves intensely, someone who feels deeply. Depth does not require damage. Emotional maturity shifts the focus from intensity to consistency, from dramatic gestures to daily reliability, from overwhelming highs to steady presence. When love is healthy, your nervous system can rest. You are not scanning for threats. You're not bracing for withdrawal. You feel safe expressing needs, safe making mistakes, safe being fully seen. That safety may not feel explosive, but it is sustainable. The illusion of intensity begins to fade when you question your emotional reactions. When you ask whether your excitement is rooted in compatibility or unpredictability, you start noticing patterns. How you are drawn to emotional suspense. How calmness initially makes you uneasy. Awareness interrupts repetition. Instead of chasing adrenaline, you begin valuing alignment. Instead of seeking drama, you prioritize communication. Slowly, your nervous system recalibrates. It learns that love does not require constant activation. And as that recalibration happens, something profound changes. You no longer need emotional turbulence to feel alive. You no longer interpret anxiety as attraction. You begin to experience connection as something steady, something grounding, something calm. And in that calmness, you discover a truth that intensity once concealed. Love is not the storm. It is the shelter.